I would like to discuss about the head of the dragon and the tail of the dragon. In astrology, the head of the dragon is your north node, and the tail of the dragon is your south node. So north node is very much like your North Star. It is where you are going in this lifetime for self-discovery and self-mastery. And we can spend many lifetimes interacting with our north node position. Just like our south node represents the past, the past lives, the karma of the past, and what we discovered in our past lives about ourselves, character development in our past lives, and also discovers our mastery, right? Our south node has to do with our mastery, right? What we are really good at, right, in our past lives, and what makes us feel very strong in this lifetime, and what makes us feel very comforted, and what makes us very resilient in this lifetime, right? So it's the south node in your astrological zodiac position. It showcases a skill, a trade, a talent, a tool, a technique that you that you possess, that that you possess from previous lifetimes. So I have my south node in Taurus. So in my past lives, I have skills, talents that are in the house of Taurus, right? So in past lives, in many past lives, not just one, we have many past lives in the south node and the north node. So I've had many past lives of the Taurus, right, in the Taurus position. So what that means is I am able to take talents and make them profitable. That's something of past lives. I know about how to oversee and to manage a company or business. My past lives have been very business-minded, so I possess skills of prioritizing, delegating, organizing, and getting things done, right? Being very determined, being very direct when it comes to business, and possessing an integrity, right? Because Taurus in the character development, in the mastery of that house, has sort of integrity in one's work, right? Has a strong work ethic and feels quite accomplished in one's ability to manifest, right? Manifest through the effort, through the dedication, the perseverance, the determination, and the grace, the beauty, right? So that is a skill, a trade, a tool, a technique, a methodology that I have practiced for many incarnations, and it is something in this incarnation that is like a safeguard, right? Your south node, the tail of the dragon, is like a safeguard. It's what you know. It's what is tried and true for you in many ways. That it's a tool, a technique that you go to, especially early on in life, right? Because it helps you to remain strong. It gives you a strength, right? Our north node, the head of the dragon, is in the opposite position of your zodiac, right? So it's going to be on the complete opposite side of whatever zodiac in the wheel. It's going to be directly across from it. And the north node has everything to do with your evolution. So that's why north node, head of the dragon, is very important, because it's about your evolution, right? It's about you stepping into a deeper exploration of yourself, right? So, with a Taurus house, it's like I've gathered a lot of knowledge, many lifetimes, a lot of experience with the Taurus and what it means to be in the Taurus house and to have a sort of power of Taurus within my, human experience. But the north node is your evolution and your experiences moving forward, right? The experiences you are to have moving forward. So I want to discuss about the Scorpio, right? Because I have the Scorpio in my head of the dragon, my north node. And it's very important to know about the head of the dragon, the tail of the dragon, right? If anything in astrology I've discovered, because I'm not an astrologer, but I definitely have knowledge and thorough experience of it in multiple lifetimes. But if you want to just kind of look at the power of your astrology, the head of the dragon, tail of the dragon, north node, south node, midheaven, 10th house, very, very significant, because 10 represents, mastery, cycles, endings, beginnings. And you can also look at the sun sign, right, which is you coming into the world, you showing up, you making it happen. And the moon, right, the moon sign, that's also important. And if you want to, you can explore all of the planets if you want to go deeper into it. But the moon is very important because, we are all guided by the moon. The moon is very influential. The phases of the moon are there's a lot going on, right? And our emotional maturity is actually, if you can just develop that emotional maturity with your moon sign in the zodiac, with your sort of moon portals, moon magic, moon ceremonies, that emotional maturity actually can give you so much upliftment in every area of your astrological chart, right? Because with emotional maturity, we're able to really unlock we call the higher octaves of every position that we have, right? Which is the breakthrough, which is instead of the breakdown, the breakthrough, right? But it requires a sort of emotional maturity to do that. So you can connect your moon, right? Your moon. So I want to talk about the Scorpio and the Scorpio experience through my perspective and my sort of interaction with it, having that strong Scorpio in me. So Scorpio, again, my interaction with it brings up resentment, right? So when I was young, the passing of my father brought up a lot of resentment, right? That really put me into the dark night of the soul several times. There was a period of years where I was in the dark night of the soul, and I even was very much interested in the underworld, afterlife. I mean, I even was emo, where I would dress all black for a period of time, right? Where I would literally go to an emo store and just purchase all the type of black things that you could find, right? Because I was in the scorpion type of energy, which can deal with the resentment, can deal with bitterness, can deal with stubbornness when it comes to forgiving oneself and forgiving others. And also, we talk about the Scorpio can, be very, the stinger we talk about, right? Where you can sting yourself, sting other people out of this sort of resentment place, out of this sort of this turmoil that we have inside of ourselves. So in the other side of the Scorpio is the eagle, and I want to kind of share my transition from the scorpion, resentment towards my father, and that just creates all this sort of this spiraling into resentment towards society, and then towards maybe social economic situation, and then maybe it could be towards whatever you feel you're in disadvantage with, right? So you're dealing with, even you can deal with bitterness, these bitterness, parents that are scorned by relationship dysfunctionality, and in the scorpion type of energy, the sting is, the kind of stinging yourself and stinging other people by pushing people out, right? It could even be through isolating yourself, and it can be through being very overprotective, and it can also be through shutting down as a way that we sort of block people out and can kind of just dwell in our behaviors and habits due to being in an unhealed state, right? Where that resentment can really catapult us into the feelings of shame and blame and the human condition, which has a lot of feelings not being good enough, and the jealousy and the envy and that kind of realm, right? So the transition for me, how I became the Scorpion to the eagle, right, which seems completely different, like that just is major transformation from a Scorpion to an eagle. That just seems really like not, it doesn't seem like that would ever be a transformation, you would think, right? But when I started transitioning, I started to activate my codes of metaphysics that I already knew, right? The Scorpio, the reason that the Scorpio is considered the shaman and the Scorpion Scorpio is considered the shaman as well as the teacher of the underworld. And when it comes to dimensions and metaphysics, is because through navigating these deep emotions, kind of dark seeming emotions, the dark night of the soul, you gain a kind of fearlessness, a deathlessness, right? It's like you are presented with all these type of human emotions that come at you, and you may even experience them through parents, right? Or experience them through caretakers, right? And you're given them because they're there to help you overcome the common fear and doubt all human beings have, so that you can learn what it means to travel through these realities, or these rooms, right? These rooms. And that's the kind of why they're considered the shaman. They know how to travel through these rooms, right? How we learn that is traveling through the rooms of our own emotions, because emotions are very complex, and there's a wide range of emotional, from deep suffering to deep ecstatic bliss. So I was in that dark night of the soul, which I've experienced multiple times in my life, like where you feel like you're just being cracked open, and there's just this grief that comes through you. It could be past lives, just planet Earth in general, and that can bring up a lot of feelings of blame and shame, and you resenting these people for doing this to those people, and all kinds of things, right? So I transitioned when I started to really develop the shaman side of the Scorpion, right? Which is about diving deep into metaphysics. Okay, so I have these tough energies, emotional energies, resentment, kind of bitterness, blaming, shaming, whatever it is, victim, right? To the dark night of the soul, where I feel like I'm, darkened by life, right? I feel like I can't share my light. When I started to focus on metaphysics and just going deep into it, like philosophy, what is the soul? How do I connect with the soul? Mantra recitation, just even singing, just opening my voice and singing helped me to connect with that shaman, with that sort of metaphysical side of myself. And I think that's the pathway for every, Scorpio who's, the Scorpion becoming the eagle, because the eagle, even in ancient Egyptian culture, the vulture eagle is seen as, the being that travels through higher dimensions to gain knowledge and wisdom and perspective. The eagle has perspective, right? So I just simply would activate my chakras through my sound current, through my voice when I was young, and then I would start to write songs, and basically I would write songs about my experiences, where I was in the dark night of the soul, just with myself. And I found that helped me to that really helped me to transform, right? Where I literally, it's almost like you just gotta let it bleed, you just gotta be raw with it, you just gotta go with it. It's almost like you just gotta let it out in a way where you feel completely liberated by it, right? So many times, you go to a dance party and people like dancing like sticks, because they just can't let it out, because they have so much, they've been indoctrinated by whatever shame, blame, programs, they're not good enough. So, people go to parties and they're dancing like sticks, we just sticks up the butt, and they're comparing and they're contrasting, they're competing, and well, I'm not dancing like that. I didn't wear a dress like that, or my hair's not like that girl, that guy. I don't have those shoes of that guy, and then that creates all kinds of just overthinking, and you lose the flow. So, part of the Scorpio transitioning from Scorpion to the Eagle is about liberation. So it's moments of ecstatic joy within the dark night of the soul, right? So it's like you feel like you've been stung by life, or you sting life, sometimes just unconsciously, because you're in a habit or behavior where you're just feeling angry with society for something, even angry with yourself, right? And it can even be something of past lives, right? It could be something doing with parents, caretakers, these type of things. So it's the focus. I focused on liberation, and it's almost like, when Scorpio has this, transition to the Eagle, it's just kind of like this, fuck it, you get to this point where you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna, everyone's dancing like twigs. I'm just gonna open up. I'm gonna dance like I'm some African goddess or something, right? And that's completely going, that's completely indifferent to, what everybody else is doing, right? And, that's how you're able to transform. It's really through the heart energy, and that deep blue heart energy that basically is what the Scorpio goes into, the blue flame of the heart, right? That blue flaming heart energy that the Scorpio goes into, in order to break through the other side to the Eagle. Like for me, it's a daily thing. Like I'm hungry and I desire that royal blue flame, right? So I love death and rebirth. And I think, that's how we're able to become the Eagle, is through perspective, gaining as much perspective as possible. So that could be like learning from all kinds of different teachers, having different experiences, and really following what liberates you, right? What makes you feel fearless and deathless. And, for the Eagle, it's like there's a spiritual practice that the Eagle has, right? Where there's a sense of rite of passage of manhood, womanhood, that only the Scorpio gets to experience, right? Rite of passage, manhood, womanhood, that some people, it takes lifetimes to get that kind of quantum leap, or that sort of evolutionary sort of push that really brings them into that sort of manhood, womanhood, right? So when I focused on like being, womanhood and what it means to be a woman in cultural lenses of sort of an ancient past where, womanhood was more, that rite of passage was, more distinct, and it was practice in a more meaningful way, I would say, where there's more of a tribal sort of initiation with it. That's when I started to really feel more confident with my emotions, and more confident in my ability to deal with the human condition that is on this planet, right? Because the Scorpio is like, whoa, it's the human condition can seem very overwhelming, right? So that kind of connection to the rite of passage, what it means to initiate myself, womanhood, and womanhood through the cultural lenses of like a tribe, of like an ancient tribe, or even through the indigenous people or the native people, it helped me to really connect with that Eagle, and what it means to be the Eagle is to basically have a kind of cosmic consciousness where, the Eagle is seen as traveling through planets and worlds, and traveling out of this, matrix, and basically gathering messages and giving messages to people of this world from other dimensions, right? Higher vibrations. So when I feel for myself, I think that because it's in the North Node, that's something that I will be experiencing in this incarnation, probably for this whole life. That sort of, if I focus on that spiritual practice, the womanhood, the rite of passage, initiation, sort of perspective, gaining perspectives and experiences from, multiple kinds of views of the human condition and how people, celebrate it and how people overcome it and liberate it, that the eagle is very much like a symbol for me in this life, from like, the age I am now to probably the age, when I die. And I'll constantly have this sort of being in between worlds of death, being in the dark night of the soul. It's like we'll have dark night of the souls probably multiple times, because that's what jump starts rebirth and renaissance. And I'll also have great renaissances of great creative explosion and, great energy, and have a sort of pronounced sexual energy and sensual energy in this lifetime, which, experiencing it through your creative, energy is a way where the Scorpio it's a very unique position to have, especially in the North Node, and just if you have a prevalent in any of your astrological, positions, because it definitely gives you that opportunity to really evolve. And I think a lot of people, when we look at, incarnations, people are hungry for it. People, they want it. They definitely want it, because that growth, it gives you, it just gives you a deep contentment. It gives you a deeper fulfillment, because you are able to be, not just die and then you have to be reborn. Literally, you physically die and you be born the next life. It's like you get to experience multiple incarnations of dying and then being reborn. So you become so multidimensional, which is really ideally what we've had in the ancient past. It wasn't like, oh, I had to die so I could change my life, right? A lot of people have that, where they stick with this type of habit or behavior routine just to die, physically, old age or whatever, just to be reborn, and thinking that's going to give them the renaissance. That's going to give them the evolution they want. No, the Scorpio, it's like, you don't need to physically die to have that death, to have that reinvention, to have that rebirth, and to basically gather, every time you die and you're reborn, you gather more of your soul. Because every time you connect with these higher realms in the death and the rebirth, that kind of threshold where you're held in a sort of space between life and death kind of thing, you basically gather more of your soul. So a lot of Scorpios, they have that, near-death experience a lot in times, because you're gathering your soul embodiment, you're gathering more of your soul energy. And for me, that kind of death and rebirth is my great, interest in the Kundalini yoga and the sort of mastery of that, and going deeper into that. Each time I do that, I gather more of my soul. And the reason Scorpio wants to gather more of their soul in this lifetime, through death and rebirth and, dark night of the soul, where you go into the underworld, and basically you go into the underworld so that you can gain a sort of personal power when it comes to dealing with, darker energies, right? You got to pass those tests, the darker energies, darker forces, you got to pass the tests kind of thing, to initiate yourself through into the light kind of thing. You get to experience a sort of wholeness, the sort of fullness of what you're capable of. Because in, the underworld and where you're traveling through the dark night of the soul, it really breaks you down or cracks you open for you to really make a choice, as a Scorpio always does, for personal power, right? To make a choice for personal power. And sometimes we as human beings, we will not make that choice for personal power unless literally we're seeming forced to, because we're at this position in our life, this dark night of the soul, where it's like we have to surrender. We have to surrender to our personal power. We have to surrender to our soul. We have to surrender to the magic of the moon, the magic of the solar system. So what that does is when you're a Scorpio, and literally it's like you're dropped into dark night of the soul and you have to change, right? Or the depression or whatever, sadness, you gotta move it. Like there's no possibly in this life, maybe next life, it's like you have to, right? It connects you to the universe, because it's only through that cosmic consciousness of that eagle are we able to really ignite our personal power and really manifest our way through this human condition and to experience the victory. Because that's the one thing of the power of the Scorpio, is you want the victory, right? And that's the one thing that's very special quality, because some humans, it's like they don't have that push, they don't feel that push for victory, so they don't really challenge themselves, they don't really encourage themselves to follow through on the heart energy, right? Just to kind of dwell and just kind of sit there. But Scorpio, it's like evolution is like the greatest victory any Scorpio could have, because it means death and rebirth, it means renaissance, it means creativity, and it also means that I am creating my reality, right? And that's the greatest kind of the Scorpio wants, and that's what feeds the Scorpio, is I am the creator of my reality. Not only my reality, I'm also the creator of worlds, right? When it comes to sharing of creativity that can help to redefine this world and to help other people to evolve into a different experience that is going to give more victory, right? So Scorpio is the leader of not only the underworld, where the underworld, basically shamans can actually help these underworld type of things to move on and raise their vibration and begin to shake off all of that stains on the mind, right? That's caused them to kind of just sit in this purgatory forever, it's their own hellhole, because they're strong enough to handle that. But also they can help all sort of dimensions of people. Either it's people in love and contentment, or fear or suffering. They can help all individuals evolve their human condition, right, through their own personal evolution and through their own willingness to go through it, right? To go through it and actually to be an example of what it means to shed the human experience, to shed indoctrinated fanatics that we can be, or belief systems, religions, relationship programs of this, that, and the other, and when they shed that, they become this great example of a creator of reality and ability to really walk through you can say walk through the shadow, or walk through whatever it is you fear, facing it and reaching the other side of it, which is you have a breakthrough, you have some sort of victory over your own evolution, whatever's been holding you back, whatever habit, behavior, whatever it is. It's like nothing is impossible to break through for the Scorpio, nothing. And that's a kind of grit that a lot of people, they want, but they just don't have. So they spend lifetimes just playing around with the idea of letting go of this belief system that they've had for lifetimes, that keeps them incarnating in this type of thing again and again, right? So that Scorpio, when you have that, you need to see it as it's an opportunity for you to have evolution, and for you to shed. You can shed as many lifetimes as you want. You can shed as many beliefs, as many programs, as many whatever lifetimes of struggle, pain, sorrow. You can shed it through really awakening the royal blue flame of the heart. Again, it's a royal blue flame. So Scorpio represents royalty, royal blue flame, but it's the royalty over the spiritual realm, over the emotional realm, over, the sexual energy, right? The pranic energy, which has everything to do with the creative. There's royalty over the creative. So that royal blue represents the ethers. It represents, the fulfillment at the soul level. So, the Scorpio, it doesn't take much to have that fulfillment at the soul level. It really is just about the surrendering to one's evolution and surrendering to what liberates me the most. If it's painting a picture, if it's falling in love, if it's really about the experience of one's own ability to redirect thoughts from like negative, blame, resentment, shame, into like thoughts of, forgiveness, compassion, understanding, a willingness to, to learn, to have calm communication, right? So it's really, that's the liberation. Like every time I see myself in this, whatever, feeling of bound to reality, or, feeling inadequate, or, in the dark night of the soul, in that kind of limitation, like I'm limited, there's restrictions, like I'm not going to be able to do this, that, and the other, because society will, block that, or whatever it is. When you redirect your thoughts towards like mantra, right? The Scorpio is the mantra, the mind wave, in the, the sort of how it emotionally leads them towards their maturity, the rite of passage. So when I focus on looking at things as initiation and looking at things from redirecting, and focus on that, it's like I go through the dark of the dark with my emotions and all kinds of fears and doubts and limitations and, the glass ceiling. But breaking through the glass ceiling is that victory, just simply by liberating your choice, your habit, your behavior, whatever it is, your relationship with your friend, your father, your mother, with your lover, right? Just making the choice to be grateful opens up this whole door for the Scorpio to become, the Scorpion to become the eagle. And that eagle, in any really indigenous native group, Native Americans, the eagle is seen as royalty. It's when the eagle comes, it's seen as, it's seen as this leader, it's seen, and it's revered. And that's what Scorpio is revered in the spiritual realm. The shaman is revered for, basically possessing this very distinct, defined, pronounced energy that's very sharp, that can cut through, like an eagle. It's very, very, it can cut through the air. Very, very ambitious. Like when you look at an eagle, very ambitious. Their attack, it's like they don't give up. There's a sense of nobility in their ability to attack, right? They dive in, they get it, and even the way they look, they're so distinct. They're so pronounced in the way that there's this fierceness, this fearlessness to the eagle, right? So I just wanted to share my transition. And for those of you who have North Node Scorpio, or just Scorpio very pronounced in your astrological chart, this may be beneficial, right? Because the Scorpio is different from any zodiac, because, we don't really hear about zodiacs basically being deconstructed from, when we think of like a scorpion, which is an insect, into, an eagle. Like Scorpio is the only zodiac that really has that monumental, like, reincarnation happening in the same incarnation, right? Which is the evolution that is the soul journey completion. And really no other zodiac is very much like that, with literally providing you a soul journey completion, like literally giving you the sort of fierceness of that sharp eagle to really help the human within yourself first, human, and then humanity evolve. Like that is the life mission of the Scorpios. First, the human in me, I got to get a handle on that beast, all the shame and resentment and the hate towards my father, or hate towards society, and all this craziness of myself and this emotional turmoil that, you know, it's all I see within myself. So you first get a handle on that. And then the evolution of the humanity is when a Scorpio shares its sound current, its voice. The sound current is the Scorpio, right? The voice is like the Taurus, you know, the voice, but the throat chakra. The sound current is the aura. You know, and the Scorpio has an aura that basically promotes on this planet to other human beings, like, don't give up on the human condition. You can find a way, right? Survive. Like Scorpio has survive, you know, find a way, right? And people do, because they begin to understand, you know, whatever programs, lies, deception, charlatans have been feeding me this you know, fake food type of thing. You know, I'm gonna learn how to cultivate the land myself instead of eating the fake food or whatever programs, beliefs. I'm gonna learn to, you know, cultivate my own consciousness, right? Through redirecting my thought, redirecting my choice, redirecting my habit, because I'm not attached to anything of this world. And that's the Scorpio. I'm not attached to anything. So if I'm not attached, interlocked, like bound to these things, whatever I've been told, I'm bound to this karma, that thing, you know, that's liberation, is, you know, becoming non-attached, where you realize, like, you know, I move through these energies because I choose to move through these energies. I choose to let go of these energies. I choose to break free of these energies. And that's something, you know, it could take lifetimes for people to actually do that. It could take lifetimes for people to like move on from this attachment they've had to this soul companion, or, you know, or this attachment to this area. Like some people they keep born to the same family in the same area and doing that same, you know, it's like they keep echoing through the bar scene, right? Like, you know, which is your ancestors and your people that you've met multiple lifetimes, you know, telling the same stories, that type of thing. So that's the Scorpio. That's the immense power. It's not a power what we think of, you know, I have control over everything and I can, you know, it's the power of knowing how to manipulate yourself into doing what you need to do on a soul level, on an evolutionary level, to get yourself in a position where you have freedom. And that's, you know, from, you know, we can see that in the picture of Earth and in the Scorpio that comes through on the Earth plane, you know, the Pluto, you know, a lot of it, when we think of the Moses and the liberating of the people, getting them out of this, you know, resentment, victim, you know, we're just going to suffer here for multiple, more generations to come, and then making it happen, right? Using that sort of power of the Scorpio to redirect the thought form, to redirect the, you know, the sort of mantra of the people or of oneself, to basically, the mind is the power, and the mind should be knowing how to redirect itself and knowing how to make a sort of momentum of the mind that is that actually is like a victory, rather than like spinning off in your own, like, you know, hate myself type of thing, or, you know, I'm never gonna do this, it's never gonna happen, all of these things, or you're just gonna destroy ourselves and extinct this and the other, right? That is where the real power comes from when it comes to, you know, tangible things, physical things. And that's the Scorpio knows. It is that redirecting of the thought of the mantra of victory, 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 that basically brings about the tangible and the physical results. That always happens for the Scorpio. It's just a matter of fact of there needs to be the evolution of the Scorpio that has to happen, you know, the Scorpion into the eagle, which really brings about this floodgate open for newer energies to come onto this planet through the channel of the, you know, Scorpion person, and also for these, you know, these new energies to come in and these renaissances to come in. And that's really where the real magic on this planet happens, is through the renaissance of, could be poetry, science, art, music, but really the Renaissance is where people are tapping into a rite of passage, where people are tapping into their humanness, not escaping their humanness, not becoming robotic, not becoming, constantly in this debate over my religion, your religion, constantly in this mental debate where you're just attacking other people's ideas, completely wasting energy, right? The humanness that, like the eagle, is the hunting, right? Hunting to be fed well, hunting to feed their young ones. And when we're talking about to be fed, to hunt, you attack to be fed well, right? That is, feed your young. The being fed well is about the nourishment you get from life, right? The nourishment, in the nourishment, you can eat food, and still not feel nourished because you're not having a relationship with it. The eagle has a relationship with whatever they're attacking and taking back to their nest. There's a relationship. There's a sort of reverence. There's a sort of respect for that, whatever they're grabbing, right? And that's the kind of, we call it the spiritual nourishment one gets, right? Where you feel connected to this earth, you feel the sacredness of what you're doing, that is very tribal, and it brings you very down to earth, not up in fantasy la la land caught in your head, but down to earth and understanding the cosmic laws, the karma laws, the dharma laws, the sort of laws of creation. And that right there is the royal blue flame of the scorpion becoming the eagle.